Hi, my name is Ashley Forsyth, and I am the owner of Health and Fitness Meals and Your Way Nutrition here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today I have with me Vanessa Bryant. How are you doing, Vanessa?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad that you could come on with me today. And for those of you who haven't ever caught any of my interviews before, I love interviewing women who are entrepreneurs and movers and shakers and doing great things. And I have the pleasure because this week is my first opportunity I've ever had to interview an author. And I'm so excited about this because it is basically like a whole line of business, and it's all about marketing. It includes a lot of marketing. It includes a lot of talent and skill, and also even like making a plan for income and everything like that. So I think that it's going to fit in really well with what we're doing, and I think that a lot of female entrepreneurs are aspired writers as well. So I'm really excited to talk about that. Vanessa, do you want to tell me a little bit about what your work history is and what it is that you do for a living?
Sure. So currently, I'm actually a stay-at-home mom of two kids. My daughter is 4, and my son just turned 1. Prior to that, though, I was a pediatric oncology nurse at primary care for and during that time, I really found a love for administration, hospital administration. I went back to school, got my master's degree in business administration, and took a pause, went to focus home, and that's kind of when my writing work began.
That's great. So currently, you are not working as a nurse anymore, and a lot of your book talks about this, and so I like that because you are a stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
And I think that's so awesome because a lot of women struggle with being a stay-at-home mom and still being really ambitious and kind of thinking, what is this phase of my life, and like what can I do with it? And I love reading that in your book and your journey. But I did also want to let's before we go any farther, I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about your book.
Okay.
So Vanessa wrote the book The Rib, and you told me that it was basically began as your own personal kind of diary entries.
Yes.
You decided to turn into a book, and I love it because it's very real. I like it that it's authentically you, and it's also spiritual, which is a big part of your life. And I think it's just very encouraging for women because I know a lot of times, like we talk about, women having to do it all, but then there's so many different phases in a woman's life, and knowing and accepting the phase that you're in, and not feeling like my purpose or my identity isn't in my children, but it also wasn't in your career before.
Yeah.
There's so much more to an individual than that, and that's what I've really gotten out of it as a daily read.
I was so excited, and it really kind of affirms that it was needed, and it is needed for women to hear and to resonate with, because that's exactly it. My journey has showed me that purpose is not linear. It is all encompassing, and sometimes it's like this. You turn left, then you turn right, then you go straight, then you dig down deep in a hole, and then you come out of the hole, and it's like this ever evolving process, and all of that is purpose, and all of that is where you find you can feel fulfilled. So yeah, that's wonderful. Glad to hear.
Good. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your launch date, because it's happening really soon. And on your website, you're actually having a book signing party, and so it's local here in Salt Lake. And so I just want you to kind of get that out there for people who want to come and support our local boss babe, a local female entrepreneur writer. Tell us all about that.
Okay, so the book comes out on Mother's Day, which is May 12th, which is shortly around the corner. So exciting. I am having a book release party at Creek Tea in Salt Lake City on May 4th. That's this coming Saturday from 6 to 8:30. It is a smaller, intimate setting, so it has been an ticketed only event. However, on my Wednesday, Thursday at the Post where people can purchase copies there and take home great Mother's Day gifts. I'll also be doing a book poetry reading and signing at Golden Bird Books on May 18th. So that's where you can find me. And later in the month, more information to come. We'll be doing like a brunch, a ladies brunch, with some dialogue on a lot of just women connecting with other women, other boss in the community. But yes, a lot of exciting events surrounding the opening or the release.
All right. Well, I'm excited. I'd love to make it to one of those events. Maybe I'll head up to the point because I haven't been there. And you met my good friend Crystal. She goes there regularly, so that would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun.
All right. So moving on with about us, we do have a little bit of a history, so I just want to let people know. I know Vanessa because we went to high school together.
Yes.
Murray, 2006. I just aged us a little bit. We're like way past our 10-year anniversary or our 10-year reunion.
I feel like people say that, right? But then you experience it and literally blinked, and all of this sudden 10 years has passed. It's crazy.
But I absolutely love that. So many women from our high school are doing such awesome things, and it's so great to see like what 10 years later has brought us. Half of the people I've interviewed I've known from high school, so that's been really cool.
I love that.
All right, so I like how you also put on here, and I completely appreciate this. You said that back when I got started with my business platform and started doing my diet plans, you were one of my first customers, and you still have it, and you refer to it.
I totally do. In a folder, and I go back to it and refer to it when I'm like, okay, I need to like refresh what I need to do, like get on track for a while, get excited around holidays and go off that. So it's something to refer to, like, okay, this is what kind of a guide. Yeah, I absolutely remember them. I was like following you, I feel like maybe on Facebook at the time, and I know what you're doing, and I'm like, one, nutrition is something that you want somebody you trust. So it was like, okay, this is like a good contact, somebody I trust.
I would absolutely love.
Like, it's such an inspiration to me.
Well, thank you so much for that. I would absolutely love to see that because it's just crazy how much it's advanced since then. I would love to see a reminder of what it looked like when it started, and I'll just show you what they look like now because you'll be like, oh, it's not even the same. It's like so much better now. We've got like recipes and like everything with them, so that's fun because we all.
Absolutely.
All right. So I want you to tell us a little bit about how you decided that you wanted to be an author.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story, I guess. It's never anything that I thought one day I'm going to be an author of a book. But writing has always been a super therapeutic approach for me. It's funny because I kept a daily journal. But there were phases in my life always that writing felt like and so, like I have journal, but I'll go through phases where there is maybe some every day or every month, and then there's nothing for a few years. And then in junior high, I still love her. My Angela is like my woman. You know, I just like love everything she had to say, and I aspired to her in so many ways. Just the way she carried herself, and her art was so cool. So I was like, into my poetry. It's funny because I still have some of them. I read them now, and I'm like, you can see I'm processing a lot of things, but it was very elementary, you know, like I was a very good poet. It was nonetheless therapy for me, and it was my personal. And so when I transitioned out of work into staying at home, it kind of threw me for a loop. It was something I had never envisioned myself doing, And so I had a lot of surrounding that, and I found my way to writing. So I was writing, and in that I didn't at the time think it was going to turn into a book. But it was like I would talk to other female friends, and it was crazy. It was like they were experiencing things that I was writing about, and it was like sometimes even that day, something I'd written that nobody else would have known, I would talk to a friend, and she was going through the same thing, and it started to really kind of come to me that maybe other women need to hear um, what I'm writing about and what I'm working through, and kind of my revelations through it all maybe could potentially help another person. And so then the idea of a book kind of came to mind. And it was kind of like, should I blog? Should I have a website? Should I write a book? And I knew blogging wasn't my kind of expertise for reasons. And I wanted something tangible. So I talked to my husband about it. He was the one that affirmed, like, you are an awesome writer. Like, absolutely, you should do this. And so I was kind of like, I still think I'm crazy, but that was where it formed. And after that, it was kind of like this. Again, it wasn't this linear process. It was kind of like I'm just writing and I'm writing, and when I get to that stage where I really feel like I'm going to go after it, then I will. But it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Here's the idea today, and very quickly the book was written. It was a process.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so happy that you ended up going for it. Like I said, I've enjoyed reading what you have to say so much. And I do think that as far as women relating to each other, it's very relatable. And it kind of makes women feel like, oh, like that's, I don't know, like that. It's like reassuring. It's like, oh, I'm not the only person going through that or feeling those things. Vanessa, I think you froze. Can you hear me? Um, hello?
I sorry, was putting out there.
Yeah, okay, I've got you now. I've got you now.
Okay, good. The last thing I kind of heard was just that that the book has been meaningful to you, and that you found some things resonate, and just be able to for women to feel like they're heard and they're seen, and that really is my goal in this whole thing, is that some of the things it has been very vulnerable for me to share on paper and to the world and to others, because at the time it really did feel like I was the only one going through it. And so when I would hear and speak to other people and open up and say like how I really felt, and they say, hey girl, I've been there too, it's like this, okay, I can breathe. You know what I mean? It just gives you that space to feel like I'm not crazy, I'm not alone. And that is very powerful in our journey, is that we need to feel connected on levels that bring us together, and not pull us apart, or not even push us further deeper into a hole when we feel like we're isolated and alone, and you really get into your own thoughts and you think nobody's been here, or no, or I'm the only one. Those can be really sabotaging feelings. And so I do feel like it's important, and I do hope that the message across the board to people is that they find some connection and some relatability, and yeah, that feeling of like, we're in this together, girl. We got each other.
Definitely. I definitely think there's something very empowering about a community of women and like empowerment, which is one of the reasons why I do this, because I do, believe in women supporting women. One of the quotes that you had in your book that I loved, I know you quoted something else. It was a woman who can wear her pain like grand diamonds around her neck is untouchable. Is that what it was?
Yes.
I love that.
That quote, because that's just it, right? Like our journey is light and dark. You know, people want to, or we tend, just in our human nature, to focus on the things that are going well. But the thing about it is like flowers bloom when there is rain. You know what I mean? When it's wet and when it's muddy and when it's ugly. You know, like in the winter in Utah and in the spring in Utah, when you never know what is going to happen in the storms and with the weather, it's like, gosh, you know, I find myself in the fun in those months because I'm like, I just want the sunshine. But what you don't realize is like all of that is happening so that we can enjoy the beauty in the summer and in the months where the sun is shining. And so truly, like, I think I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I haven't reached this place of like, I've arrived. It's still a process for me, but in my journey and in the rib, I really try and speak about my path to finding that and to realizing that even in the moments where I felt like I have no idea what's going on, or, you know, through my hardship, just wearing that like like a crown, like a trophy, because I have learned and I've grown and I've worked my way through and out of that, and being able to acknowledge that has made me feel like a stronger individual, like a stronger woman, like a stronger mother, like a stronger wife. And so I think if we can learn to, yes, wear our pain like diamonds, you know, we can do a lot. We can accomplish a lot more than we'll ever imagine.
Yeah, for sure. There is strength in vulnerability. And I also think that if you aren't honest with what you've been through, you can't help anybody else go through it. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So, talk to me. You said that you got a lot of support from your husband in helping you take the final leap into getting your work published. Tell us a little bit more about the business of being an author. So, like, how I know it's very complex as far as business model. You're planning an income stream. You're planning, profitability, expenses, and potential events like your book signing that you're having, or if you had any goals as far as turning it into a public speaking type of a career. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. A lot of people are like, how do you start? Well, if you're interested in starting to write a book, the most important thing is just to write. Is writing right first, and then really truly worry about the rest later. So that's where I focus my intention first, is just, let me just write what I want to say. Because sometimes, at least for me, focusing on the business side of it can be really discouraging, especially like for myself. My background is not in this at all. I'm not in PR, not in marketing. Yes, my master's gave me some oversight as to what that looks like, but it's not my expertise. So as I would think about what it would mean when I got to that stage, I would get completely overwhelmed and almost want to just quit, And so I had to realize, first thing first, let's just write, and then we'll reach that point when we get there. And so once I got there, for me it was like, who do I know that has been here before that I can talk to as a guidance, as counseling, mentorship, whatever the case may be, so that I know kind of what are the stepping stones. And so that's what I did. I reached out to one of my best friends first, who has a background in PR, and I was like, what do we need to do? And she was like, I got you, girl. Like, this is what you need to do. So she kind of laid it out for me, and even helped me build things like my website, and has helped guide me through what social media should look like and all of those things. So that was huge. I have a friend that aspires to be an editor, and so she was my first eyes on my book before I actually took it to an editor who had been established and been in the fields for a number of years. So she was my first eyes, which helped give me some comfort. It was like, I didn't need, what you don't need is affirmation for people to make you move forward. But sometimes you need this, like, you got this, girl. Like, you know what I mean? And you really have something good here. You just need to hear that so you can keep pushing forward, and from somebody you trust. So she was amazing in that. I was like, okay, if you think it's terrible, let me know before I put my neck on the line out here, because writing and a lot of these businesses can be very cutthroat. And so she was my first eyes on that. And then I spoke to another friend who had written a book, and it was published already. And he was listed on Forbes 30 for 30, and so, or 30 under 30. And so I talked to him about his process, and then he was able to establish for me like some real steps I needed to take as far as how do I get an official editor, and how does the book get published, and what websites would I do that through. And so all of those things really started from my circle of people, and just networking and able to use my resources that I knew I had in my pocket. And so I started there. And then, yes, to answer your question about the monetary things, it's like, sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And like I said, for me, this didn't start out as something that I was going to write a book and make a lot of money from. It started like a passion. Like, I want to just put a message out there, and that still is the foundation for me. So yes, of course, I want this to be successful, and I hope that it gets to a point that I am, really seeing the benefits and reaping the revenue of that, because people feel encouraged by that. But yes, it has caused me to, like, okay, let's budget out about how much this is gonna take, to rent out spaces, and then, with different companies and some of the book signings, they are so gracious. They want local local writers. They want local talent to come in, and so they're willing to work with you on prices and things like that. Amazon makes things super easy for people who are aspiring writers. You can honestly get on today if you wanted to create space, start writing, and eventually it can become a book that they will allow you to self-publish. They make it super cost-effective for the author, because they don't require you to make a certain number before they're actually sold. They just print on demand, which is another key thing that if you're looking for distributors that as an author you want to do. You want to make sure things are cost effective when you're printing your books. And so these are the things that I'm learning, though, honestly, like, to be truthful with you, this is still a process that I'm still doing as I go. But I would say those are the starting points, and have been the starting points for me.
You mentioned that you have a PR specialist.
Yes.
I was just wondering, so I mean, I love your pages, they all look great. Was it a launch date for a book? Like, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Okay. So what I kind of did is, with my editor and with my friend who has a background in PR, we worked on a launch calendar. And so it was kind of like, what are the things that we want to have done before May 12th, when the book comes out, and what dates do we want the website to be announced, and my social media to be apparent to everybody, and how do we make sure all of the links and clicks and all the things work before people actually go to the site. And so she really helped me establish my website and taught me some things, because she's not currently in it, has a separate business of her own. And so it was kind of like, I want to learn this thing so I can do it for myself. So she's been great to teach me some things, and then I've just been running with it ever since. So again, I'm still learning as I go.
So you chose to use Amazon as your publishing platform?
Yes, I did. Honestly, because they make it the easiest and most cost-effective for self-published authors to get their book out, and in a time frame that most of us want to. Like, once your goal is, to get it out there, it's kind of like, for me at least, like I said, this writing industry can be very cutthroat, and to go through a publishing company sometimes requires initial startup fees, if you have, especially if it's your first time book, and sometimes a lot of no's. And what I was researching, it wasn't necessary. A lot of people this day and age, because there are so many technical advances, that are available. A lot of people self-publish for their first book. And so Amazon, that's super easy. It's also something that everybody is very familiar with and trusts. Amazon Prime right now is like crazy. So everybody has it. And the other one that is Barnes and Noble. It is a little trickier on the back end, the information they require and things. But overall, that process has been fairly easy as well to self-publish. And so my book will be available on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and I've learned a few other distributors along the way, but they kind of feed the book through those websites as their main outlets as well. So yes, Amazon and Barnes and Noble have been the two distributors.
So I did get a hard copy of your book that you mailed to me. I'm wondering, do they do the printing and everything for you? Can people buy hard copies or ebooks? How does that work?
Yes. So what we do is in the back end, it's through Amazon, it's Kindle Direct Publishing. And so once you're ready to upload your book and your document, you can pick which format. So they have an e-file format, and that's going to be your ebook. And then they have your print format, and that's your paperback or hardcover, whichever you choose. And so you upload it separately. It's different files, and then it requires you to, basically make sure your cover looks good, your pages align the way you would like. And when you get to a certain point, you can actually have the paperback or hardcover sent to you, so you can make sure everything looks the way you want it to before you officially release it and publish it and make it available for other people to buy. And so they allow you to do both versions. So it will be available for ebook and paperback, and the same process kind of happens on the back end of Barnes and Noble. And Barnes and Noble's website is called Press. And so it's press.barnesandnoble.com, and that is kind of the resource that you would start with when looking to be a distributor and a vendor. So Barnes and Noble requires more information because they want you to not just upload your book, but they also want you to become what they call a vendor. And so they just make sure you're legit. They give you a large questionnaire. You have to fill it out, and it's just work. It's not hard. It's just work.
Oh, that's so helpful. And I don't know, I like hearing that from somebody as a user perspective and like what you recommend. I think I told you that I'm coming out with a cookbook ebook really soon, so I'm loving this whole conversation because it's going to be my very real future in a minute. It's looking really good. So props to my graphic designer. She's making all of the waffles. It's a protein waffles is what we're doing, protein waffles and pancakes recipe book. So yeah, the pictures look great. All right, so let's see. We are going to talk about, that kind of went right into the logistics of getting published, which is what we were going to lead it into anyways. One thing that we didn't touch on, I was wondering if you were looking to make being an author, like if you wanted to do public speaking occasions, if that's where you wanted to
do. And I'm kind of looking into where this process and journey is taking me. At first I was apprehensive and a little bit scared, still fighting those internal battles of like, am I really cut out for this? And who am I to inspire and encourage other people? But now I'm settling into it. I'm leaning into it. I want to see where it goes, and I would absolutely love to create some dialogue with mostly women, but men as well, on topics that we can be authentic and we can be transparent create space for that. So I would love and hope that opportunities come for me to public speak and also create conversations and small groups, whatever store for that I am embracing fully.
And I just say that because I do know a number of authors that becomes like more of their like full-time business from,
yeah, absolutely. Especially, it's kind of like, people have this tangible thing and then they're like, well, that's a lot of great insight. I want more. And you can't write book after book after book as quick as people would love for you to, just to hear from you and to dig deeper into some of the things that were said in the book. And so I think it's a great platform for writers is to public speak. I know I enjoy these podcasts and things too. I listen to a lot of various podcasts and a lot of the people speaking have written something, and it's great to hear from them in between their projects. And so, yes, I'm fully ready and embracing whatever is in store for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, there are a number of podcasts. You should look into that with your PR agent and trying to get on some podcasts to get your book out there more. I agree. A lot of the podcasts I listen to, they also wrote a book, and it's really cool to hear from them. I think especially if books that are kind of autobiographies and like self-help books, or like spiritual books, which yours is all of those things. I think that's specifically, the types of people that people like to hear from. So I think that'd be really cool. Well, I'm excited to see what's in store for you and your career, a new career as being an author.
Thank you so much. Thank you enough for your encouragement through that, for being who you are. And like I said, I found you inspiring. Your journey has been inspiring to me and to many, I know. And for your support, though, of other women, it's amazing. And so thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I wanted to ask you if you had one piece of advice from your experience that you'd want to leave women with today, what would it be?
I think one piece of advice is just to trust it, trust your path, trust your journey. Even when you think that you don't have a voice for something, there's a lot of people who have the ears and heart that want to listen to what you have to say. So trust your gut. If there's something that's whispering to you that you just can't seem to let go, do it. Absolutely do it. Go for it. What are you afraid of? I think a lot of people are afraid of failure. And what if we just remove that whole thought? What if we just remove failure as an option and just go for the things that we're passionate about or, want to try? And so my encouragement is just do it. Just go for it, like Nike. I never thought that I would, if you would have asked me 6-7 years ago when I was at the hospital working as a nurse, if you would have asked me where I'd been 4 or 5 years, I would have told you I'd been in hospital administration with my master's, working my way up to be chief nursing officer at a hospital. And sometimes what we plan for our lives is not the path in which God intends, and that's okay. And sometimes there's bigger and better things out there for us that we cannot see for ourselves. So embrace it, lean into it, and just go for it.
Thank you for that advice. I think that sounds familiar, vaguely, like one of your chapters. I do think that's right. It was like Dear Self-Doubt?
Yes. See? I'm speaking to myself all the time.
That's great. All right. Well, we are reaching the end of our time here. So I just wanted to let you ask me a question before we close off. What did you want to know about?
Well, we talked a lot about being transparent, being authentic, and I think what I want to know from you is, in your journey to reach your goals and to build your business, how do you feel like you are learning to or have allowed yourself to be more transparent and more authentic? And do you feel like that is helping you in your business and in your career, or do you feel like you're still learning? What has that process been like for you?
I definitely think there is that standard, especially when it comes to like social media and like appearing like you're so successful or appearing like you're so happy, even if you're not, or your life is this picture of image of what you want it to be on social media. And I think that people kind of think with perfection comes like power or, but really not relatability, really not, I don't know, like I would say like it's a lot harder to touch people that way. Yeah. And I think you kind of have to ask yourself if you're in the business of trying to intimidate other people or trying to be relatable with other people. Are you trying to make people feel small or are you trying to motivate other people? And yeah, I mean, being vulnerable and open about things isn't always super easy. Even just putting my face up on social media was a kind of a weird, hard step for me. I had one of my coaches kind of tell me, hey, like people are more interested in the person behind the business than just the face of the business. And they kind of pointed out to me that my entire social media and everything with my company, you almost couldn't even tell who was running it. There almost wasn't a face behind it, and that's less relatable. And he's like, you need to market yourself. You need to market yourself with your company. And that's when I really started pushing not just a little bit more of my own self into my business pages, but also created a page for myself. And I honestly get probably as much business or more inquiries from my personal page because it's easier, it's more approachable. People are like, oh, this is a person and I can get behind and they can trust your company and they can see what your values are. And it's a lot easier than like a logo. So I would say that mostly all women who do this say that it's not super easy, and I think that a lot of people are like, oh, they're so vain and they want to see themselves in front of a screen all the time. But nobody, most people I know are like, it's really hard to get in front of a screen. Or to do a post that says share something a little bit like authentic about yourself, or a little bit like you know, deep and real about yourself. But I kind of realized really quickly that with me starting to do that, that I really wanted to start to encourage other women to do that. And yeah, I just think that, I don't know, I love women, and I am happy to feature them and support them. And I don't know, I don't know, I want us to be a bigger part of the business world, I think.
I absolutely love your as well. I think you know, you follow a lot of these health and fitness kind of prodigies, if you will, and you're like, oh my gosh, I will never look like that. And or like, wow, do they always look like that? And I feel like, you know, you'll share, like recently, I feel like you posted like a picture of you in a competition, and then you recently, and you look amazing, but you're like, it's different and it's okay. And I'm accepting it. And, you know, it's beautiful and all of it. You just have to know what phase you're in and what you know, what you're doing. There's life to be had and there's competition, and you can still look good and feel good in both spaces. And so thank you for that transparency, because it speaks volumes to people like myself that I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like, you know, but just to be able to see that you're real, you know.
And I'll post my weight sometimes too, which is never a good topic for me, where I'm like I'm a big girl and I've never been comfortable with my weight, but but like
especially for women.
Definitely. And I've always struggled with that, just being muscular and built and tall. And people think that if you look this way, then you must be 120, you must be this. And whenever I like share that, or I do like the guess my weight thing, I love people's answers. It's always really funny, but that's not the reality. The real woman, like, unless they're like 5 feet tall, don't weigh that.
Right. And I love that. I think people get so caught up in numbers too, myself included. Like, again, this is part of my journey as well, is like self-acceptance encompasses a whole lot, and weight and looks and appearance, all of it is included. And you're absolutely right, you know. And there's a few different fitness people that I follow, and the ones I follow and stay following are the ones that are real about that, you know, because then it doesn't make you feel small. It doesn't make you feel like you can't accomplish it, or that you're just like, you know, I don't know. It's great. So I appreciate that transparency, and I know if I do, a lot of people do.
Good. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. And I feel the same way too. I think everything your answer should be about I want to uplift people, not I want to belittle people or feel less than me. So yeah, more of that in the world, more of that on social media.
Everywhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming on. I really appreciate it. This talk has been really beneficial to me, and I really think that it will be to a lot of women I know maybe also think about writing. So I think this will encourage them to do that. So
and I contact anytime if you need deeper guidance and encouragement along your journey for your recipe book. But anybody else, I'm happy to share. Like I said, my first point of touch to like propel myself forward was other people. So I'm happy to share the knowledge.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Vanessa. You have a great Sunday, and we need to do coffee sometime.
Absolutely. More to come. More fun things to come for sure.
All right. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.